First speaker for the opposition, Benedict Pagliari, a first-year Italian and history student at the University of Edinburgh. Benedict is also a member of the fantastic Edinburgh University Debates Union, which we encourage you all to go to. Benedict, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just before the debate, my friend pointed out to me that my tie seems to resemble the colours of a particularly UK party. I'd just like to make it quite clear that was completely unintentional, believe me. I'd first of all like to start by thanking the Edinburgh Union for giving me the fantastic opportunity to speak tonight on an issue that I'm personally quite passionate about, and I hope that this proves to be a constructive debate for everyone involved, especially for those of you who might be more on the fence on this issue. Many of us in this room might not even remember the 2016 referendum. I myself was only 10 years old, so I think it's good to have this conversation now so that we can all form our own opinions in the aftermath of Brexit. This debate is not about whether Brexit has been implemented perfectly, nor whether every policy decision made since 2016 was successful. I think we can all agree that mistakes were made. This debate is about something far more fundamental. It is about the right of a democratic nation to govern itself. Whether you believe that we should have stayed in the single market or the customs union, Brexit was about restoring parliamentary sovereignty to the United Kingdom as an independent nation. It was about the principle that our parliament, not distant EU institutions, should govern this country. Today I'll be making the argument that Brexit has benefited and will continue to benefit the British people by returning power to the UK electorate, by giving the UK government back the right to make its own laws, and by giving us the economic freedom to pursue a policy tailored to our specific needs and the needs of our economy. The European Union is unique today among global and regional institutions in the extent of its authority over the domestic laws of sovereign countries. It is not, as many like to frame it, simply an intergovernmental organisation, like the UN or the International Monetary Fund. It is a supranational body whose institutions pass laws, regulations and directives that are binding on its member states. The principle that the EU government and courts could override British law violated our sovereignty. We are a democratic, independent country, and as such, our laws should reflect the will of our citizens alone. The European Union centralises power in the hands of faceless bureaucrats in Brussels who are out of touch with the needs of ordinary citizens. It is federalist in its nature. The EU was founded as a community of sovereign nations, cooperating for mutual benefit. But over time, it has evolved far beyond a simple cooperation bloc. It now resembles a federal nation-state in all but name, with its own executive, legislature, judiciary, flag, anthem, and currency, much like the United States. Democracy depends on a relationship between the people who pass the laws. Just let me finish this point. Between the people who pass the laws and those who are expected to follow them. Devolving and decentralising power is better for everyone because it gives people more control over the way their own country is run. Yes, go ahead.
Could you just stand up so we can all hear? Sorry.
That the EU doesn't necessarily constitute a federal, new system of states. As a supranational organisation, it is decided and elected by existing parliamentary services. It doesn't constitute a new state in and of itself, the way that you argue it does.
I think that completely misses the point. I think the point is that the EU Commission and the EU Parliament are very distinct. I don't know if I explained this properly, but I'm coming onto it in a minute. The point is that the structure of the European Union, when considered, makes things even worse. The EU not only violates our national sovereignty, but it does it in a completely undemocratic way, actually. And I'll just go on to that now. The EU is a powerful organisation which threatens the rights of people to have a say in the laws that govern them. Many people don't even know that the EU Commission, which alone holds the right to propose new laws, is completely unelected. So when we were part of the EU, they had the right to override British law, which is made by elected MPs, and they were also unaccountable to not only the British people, but not to any people. It is incredible how many of those who defend the European Union so passionately will, in the same breath, criticise the House of Lords for being undemocratic. The House of Lords has far less power within the UK Parliament than the Commission does within the EU. So that's my first point about it being undemocratic. It's not fundamentally elected by the people. The EU Parliament has no real power. And on top of that, I'm not claiming that it is a federal nation state. I'm claiming that it essentially operates as one. And as I said, in all but name. So why should we regret exiting an institution that took power away from the British people, restricted the autonomy of our Parliament and our courts, and superseded our government and law-making bodies? And moreover, don't forget that we were paying about £10 billion a year for our continued membership. Now, I'm sure that the proposition will tell us that none of this matters, that sovereignty is meaningless if it comes at economic cost. But that argument misses the point entirely. The economic story of Brexit is actually far more balanced than the disaster narrative we often hear, and in many cases, the right to self-government should not be hinged on abstract, short-term growth in GDP. Of course, any major political change will bring with it economic adjustment. But sovereignty is not opposed to prosperity. It is the foundation upon which prosperity rests. It's the ability to make our own deals and design our own economic future. When Britain controls its own trade policy, it can secure ambitious, modern trade deals tailored to its interests, something which we could never do inside the confines of the European Union.
On that point,
Yeah, go ahead.
isn't it true that we've had years and years and years now to make these trade deals with governments of diverse ideologies, and that's utterly failed? Our GDP from our trade deal with Australia and New Zealand increased by something like 0.002%. Is that really the economic benefit that you said?
Well, here's the thing. Our trade deal with Australia and New Zealand, that's fundamentally misunderstood at the moment. What it does is it slowly eliminates over 99% of import tariffs over the next 10 years. And this comes back to my point about economic transition periods. We might not be seeing the benefits of Brexit at the moment, but in the next few years, British exporters are going to have access to new markets and exciting opportunities which could advance food, cars and services. We've also managed to get a more favourable trade deal with America than the EU has, and that's in light of Trump's new tariffs, and that's due to our ability to independently negotiate. So yes, there will be a period of economic transition, but I think the benefits of Brexit will also begin to be observed over the coming years. We may not even know the true effects for over a decade to come. It's true that our economy is currently facing some complicated economic challenges. However, where we disagree is over the scale and extent to which we can blame these challenges on Brexit specifically. Of course, there have been some short-term economic consequences to leaving the EU. But the question is really, how are we to differentiate between the results of Brexit and the consequences of the two other major, once-in-a-lifetime events that occurred at the same time? Those being COVID and the Ukraine war, and the ensuing economic crises. In any case, we've seen decent levels of growth since COVID, actually, and the evidence shows that, especially when compared with other G7 economies, the UK has seen growth comparable to France since 2019, and has actually fared better than some EU counterparts like Germany and Italy, who are currently in a period of economic stagnation. In contrast, in the first half of this year, we had the highest growth rate of any country in the G7, and we've also gone from being the 7th to the 4th largest exporter in the world as our services sector has grown. So I simply don't accept this idea that our economy has been somehow greatly damaged by Brexit. Now that we are free from European regulation and law, we have a unique opportunity to cut red tape across the economy and promote responsible economic policies adapted to our specific needs, something which has not yet been fully exploited by the government. To conclude, we can argue forever about customs forms or GDP projections, but the real question is, should Britain govern itself, or should it have stayed a part of this federal European project? Brexit gave us the power to make our own mistakes, yes, but also our own successes, to shape trade, law and policy in ways that suit us, not 27 others. It was an act of democratic correction, re-establishing the link between the people and those who make the laws that bind them. To regret that is to regret restoring our national freedom. And I, for one, believe that a self-governing, confident, outward-looking Britain is nothing to apologise for. It is something to be proud of. My message is one of optimism, and therefore I remain convinced that instead of regretting Brexit, we should embrace it. And I hope you will vote that way tonight. Thank you very much.